Hey, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Chris Maloney back with you for, well, I was going to say another edition, but the very first edition of CWN Interview. And I've been wanting to do this for a while. And, I thought about, who's killing it out there as far as Canadian independent wrestling goes, as well as the pro scene goes. A lot of people doing interviews. So I was thinking to myself, what's going to make me different? What's going to make me stand out? What do I want to do? Passion for journalists, passion for fellow podcasters as well, kind of to see exactly how their mind ticks. It's some guys are out there and they're doing it just as a hobby. Some guys are doing it to look like they want to be a professional podcaster, as in their next step is maybe AEW, the WWE, UFC. This guy here who's coming up is a fellow podcaster here in the province of Ontario. For those listening, border sides, whatever the case may be. But he's been killing it. And I think he's 48, 49 episodes in as far as his vidcasts go. And if you haven't caught on who I'm talking about yet, there's only one guy in the province of Ontario that I know that uses the word vidcast. And that is the one and only George McKay of Straight Talk Wrestling. I'm going to bring him on. George, how you doing tonight?
Not bad, Chris. How are you, man? Thank you so much for making me the first. I appreciate the love, dude. That's huge. Now it's a lot of pressure on me, man. It's just a lot of pressure.
Well, I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, the amount of interviews that you actually do, I'll get that Straight Talk logo in the background there, but the amount of interviews that you actually do, have you ever been interviewed yourself?
I actually have been interviewed twice. So once was by Holden Albright, who's a fantastic Ontario indie talent, and he actually had me on his podcast. And then I was also interviewed by Justin Guillemey, who's another fellow podcaster out in the London area as well. He was actually the second interview that I did. And then there was John Scott in the UK, who I'm also part of his network, the Wrestling with Johners Podcast Network. So. Yeah.
So it's nothing new for you, but some of the questions might be new for you. George is host of Straight Talk Wrestling, of course, every Thursday night on YouTube. He's co-host of MLW Rewind with Lewis Carlin, and as well, he's from Brampton, Ontario, and he's got other projects on the go as well, which we'll get to those. But first thing first, I want to know how long you've been a wrestling fan.
Since birth. I swear I came out with a beer can and a stogie. But honestly and truly, I guess my earliest memory, the memory that I remember, I was about 6 years old. Chris was at my uncle's house. He had a bootleg tape of that famous Madison Square Garden fight. Mick Foley's mentioned it 1,000 times. Mick Foley was in-house. I watched Snuka go off the top of the cage, and I was just like, I don't know what this is. This has to be a part of my life forever. And it has.
So in saying that, so that's old school. That's like early 80s. I want to say it is. So you're pretty much dating us both. So transition. What made you want to get into doing interviews as far as professional wrestling goes? Was it just you were watching TV one day and said I could do that, or how did it come about?
Well, me and a good friend of mine was my former co-host when I started everything. So Steve the Animal Mitchell, him and I, avid wrestling fans for a very long time. That's one of the reasons why we connected as friends. And we always were watching the pay-per-views, always bitch and complain. It's like, dude, we should start a podcast and just bitch and complain about shit. And then, I kept pushing and pushing. And then one day I called him up and I said, fuck it, let's do it. I've enrolled us in this thing called Spreaker. I have no idea. We get 10 minutes for free and then we have to pay after that. So let's just do one for shits and giggles. So we did a quick Raw review rundown. And then we decided to keep going with it. And at first it was just, we're going to do Raw and SmackDown results. Maybe we'll start doing wrestling profiles, this and that. And then I was bugging and kind of internet stalking George Menendez, who's George the Iceman. He's head of Destiny Wrestling. And I was just going at him for 6 months. Then finally he messaged me. He's like, you are persistent. Okay, I've got literally 2 hours this Saturday. Meet me at Battle Arts and let's get it done. I was like, oh my God. Okay. So Steve and I, we got our research together. We hopped in the car and we did it. And it was our first interview. And it was like, I like the taste of it. I like the adrenaline rush. I like the conversation. And that's one of the things I say. I don't have interviews. I have conversations, much like you and I are doing right now. So from there we progressed. We got Alexi Nicole next, Josh Alexander. Then from there we did, forget his name. He's going to kill me too. The guy from Shooting the Indies, I actually have his hat. He's the photographer and he hooked us up with Holden and he hooked us up with Lionel Knight and everybody. And then it just kind of steamrolled. And the more interviews we did, the more it seemed like one of us was taking more control of the conversations, which was myself. So after a lot of back and forth, a lot of heated discussions and arguments, me and my co-host decided to part ways, and I decided to take the ball and run with it. And since then, it's been a year and a half. I've kind of been on my own. Everything has kind of skyrocketed to the point where I never thought it was possible. Even YouTube, I did the first vidcast a year ago. Tomorrow was the first one that I did. And that one was great. It was like with Lufisto, legend in the game, got 30 views. And I was like, holy crap, there's actually people out there, 30 people out there that took time to watch me. And then my subscriber count went from like 4 to like 15. And I was like, okay, this is kind of cool. And I just kept rolling with it. I had help with friends and other podcasters. You know, Nicole, you sub to me, I'll sub to you. But a lot of those ones got deleted off the page because if you don't watch the content, the analytics of YouTube, our wonderful friends, they just make things disappear. So your count goes up, your count goes down. And it's just been a whirlwind. Conversations that I've been able to have, the people that I've been able to meet. And yeah, this has definitely become, the interviewing side of stuff has become a passion, a goal to kind of lead into the commentary. And when I started this 4 years ago, it'll be 5 this September. When I started this 4 years ago, I was like, man, I'm 33 years old. I'm not getting any younger. My hair is getting incredibly thin. I have 2 kids. I'm gaining weight by the minute. Just by looking at food, I gain like 4 pounds. I'm like, fuck it. I got a semi-sexy radio voice. My face is not built for radio, but my voice is. So let's just do it. And it's been a whirlwind, man. It was 80 episodes with my co-host before him and I said goodbye. And since then, it has been literally 100 and I want to say 10 by myself, all interviews. And a lot of them audio because I was like, no, I don't need YouTube. And then I was like, no, I need YouTube. And like you said, I'm close to my 50th vidcast, but I'm coming up on my 200th episode. And that's the kind of number that kills me is 4 years, 200 episodes, literally week to week. The only time we didn't drop episodes is when my co-host wasn't feeling well. And I didn't feel like I had the confidence at that time to ride solo. So I was just like, okay, well, we'll cancel it. And then I was like, no, we can't cancel it. We got to keep building momentum. And the only way to do that is to keep the content consistent. And I have. And it's been a ride, man. It's been a ride.
Yeah, I tell you this as a fellow parent, it's tough juggling, life with the wife, life with kids, and then all of a sudden you've got your hobby, your passion as far as wrestling goes, and to you've got your vidcast, but then all of a sudden you've got other outside projects as well, which we'll get to. The one thing I think is cool, and when I shouldn't say sometimes, but every week I upload your videos up to cwnonline.ca, so independent content, right? And all of a sudden, just from the pictures alone, the still shots, you can see how animated you are in your interviews, how much excitement you've got going on. I mean, you're a host, but the fact is you're still a fan and you can see it. And it's absolutely cool. I want to know, here's a question for you. Interview that was harder than expected to land for you and an interview that was easier expected to land for you?
Okay, well, the hardest one is super easy. The hardest one was Doc Gallows and Carl Anderson, the Good Brothers. And there was a lot of back and forth. And I'll be upfront. I paid for the time. Actually, I didn't pay for the time. I had a sponsor at the time. And I was nervous because we just kind of went into the sponsorship together. And I messaged him. I was like, listen, Ray, what do you think? He's like, do it. I will send you the cash. Let's do it. I'm like, are you sure? This is like a lot. And he's like, you want it? Yes. He's like, you need to grow the brand, right? Yes. Then if you grow the brand, I get more hits. Everybody wins, right? Well, yeah. Okay. So can I hang up the phone now? Okay. Yeah, you can hang up the phone. So if it wasn't for my former sponsor, I was a 6-month contract, but Ray Bernardo, Road Sport Chrysler, getting those guys was incredibly hard. But once we got past the financial aspect of it, it went like Novocaine. And I still talk to Carl sometimes. Doc's a little bit harder to get a hold of, but Carl and I actually do have, I'm not gonna say a friendship, but I'll send him a message. I'll be like, dude, that Impact match was crazy. He'll send me the thumbs up and stuff like that. So that was pretty cool. One that I thought was going to be hard, but turned out to be super easy was Vicky Guerrero, which was like my first big guest. That one was actually funny. So I tweeted out a picture of the top, I found Pod Charts, which is like a list of where your rankings are. And I took a picture. I was 46th in Canada and she was 47th. And I was like, okay, So I tweeted it and I was like, look who just topped Vicky Guerrero, excuse me. And she liked the photo. So then I was like, okay. So I went to the profile and I followed her, but I never saw the little envelope, never bothered to care. You can DM her. So I DM'd her this really heartfelt message. I was like, you were one of the best villains of that era. I hated you and loved you in the same aspect. And I was a huge fan of your husband, Eddie Guerrero. I would love to sit down and have a conversation with you. And I get it. It's a long shot. You're probably going to read this message and scroll by. You probably get thousands of these. But I just want to let you know, if you give me the time, it would be an absolute honor. Not even 15 minutes later, I'm barbecuing and I get a ping on my phone. And I said to my wife, hey, babe, can you check my phone? She checks the phone and she's like, you might want to come in here. I'm like, I can't. I got burgers cooking. Like, can't leave them. She's like, then I'll bring the phone to you. And she just sticks it up to the glass, to the outside window. And all I see is Vicky Guerrero saying, sure. When did you want to do it? I literally geeked out as a wrestling fan to get excuse me. And then when she got rude with me on the show and she was like being Vicky Guerrero of that we remember, I was like, this is the coolest thing ever. I just got literally odd by Vicky Guerrero, excuse me. And it was incredible. But yeah, those were two that really, I believe, helped grow the brand. Vicky, to kind of get the name out there because she's such a big draw. It's one of my highest rated videos on YouTube. It's close to 350 views now. And yeah, the Good Brothers. And again, the Good Brothers wouldn't have happened without my former sponsor, Ray Bernardo. So I still, for if he's ever watching this, I am grateful for that, because if it wasn't for him, that wouldn't have happened.
So I'm going to transition into a wrestling question outside of the podcast right now. You talk about the Good Brothers, and it's an easy transition. Thoughts on pro wrestling as a whole right now, especially with the forbidden door being kicked open and the news of Chris Jericho being on Stone Cold Steve Austin's Broken Skull Sessions is coming Sunday. What are your thoughts on it as a whole?
Well, I hate to be that guy, so all you AEW marks, forgive me. But the door was opened years ago. The door was open at All Out. All In, if we don't remember, without ROH helping get NWA and the Young Bucks and Cody and everybody kind of together, that wouldn't have happened. And that wouldn't have led to Tony Khan being brought in to see what would happen, therefore being AEW. And also ROH has had a working relationship with New Japan for a very long time. Technically, WWE kind of broke the forbidden door first when they had the ECW original invasion back in like 94. So if you want to think about it, this isn't the first time that the door's been open. And again, sorry, all you AEW mark, shocker. There was life in wrestling before AEW. As much as we all appreciate the wrestling, I believe the promo skills and storylines could use work, but we definitely appreciate the wrestling. The door was open a few times before, but this is the first time it's been pushed open and stayed open. So it is cool to see that. And Chris Jericho being on Stone Cold's podcast, I mean, I always have this kind of conspiracy theory that I actually got from my former co-host, that back in the day, Ted Turner and Vince McMahon, when Ted called up Vince and he said, hey, I'm in the wrestling business. We all know that famous conversation, right, Chris? The next part of that conversation was, everybody get out of my office. That was Vince McMahon. Then he put Ted Turner on speaker and he said, hey, Ted, you want to make a lot of money really, really quickly? Sure. I want to make money. Cool. I'm going to give you all my old talent. We're going to find ways to burn bridges with them and get them over to you. You're going to hold all the old talent. I'm going to build up new talent from within. And if you get any new talent to come in, you're going to go ahead and build them up till you piss them off. And then I'm going to bring them over and I'm going to do better shit with them, i.e. Eddie Guerrero, Chris Benoit, so forth and so on. And there never was really this Monday Night War. It was literally back then a license to print money, and I believe the same thing's happening now. I believe it. I've called it the pyramid scheme, and I've said it a few times on different podcasts. Vince McMahon at the top, because wrestling begins and ends with Vince McMahon. If he didn't buy out all the territories and force everyone out of business, we wouldn't have the program that we have. We wouldn't. We would just have small territories, and it would be kind of cool, but it wouldn't have that pop and pizzazz. So I believe, honestly and truly, that Vince McMahon is the top of the pyramid. Then you may have had Ted Turner, Eric Bischoff for a little bit. Then you can say you've even had Paul Heyman, ECW underneath that. And you can keep going and going and going. Now the pyramid's evolved and changed. I believe you have Vince McMahon at the top, and you have Impact and Tony Khan right underneath him. Dance Puppets Dance. And it's just, people can say what they want. This guy's out of his mind. That's cool. I respect your opinion. It's the internet, so not everyone's going to like what I have to say. But it's the truth. And the truth hurts, and that's what I am. I'm straight up. That's why it's called Straight Talk Wrestling, because I'm not going to hold back any punches. Did the conversation ever happen? No. Do I have proof of that? No. but look at the lessons and the way the business is run. It's very much like the government. We're only allowed to know what we want to know when we want to know it. How did Chris Jericho get on Stone Cold's podcast? Stone Cold begged for permission. No, he didn't. Vince McMahon said, hey, I know how to make a lot of money on WrestleMania weekend. And I know how to get all those fans that left me to watch AEW to come back and watch me, even if it's for one night. Let's bring Jericho back. Oh my God, Chris, did I just blow everybody's mind? Maybe. I don't know.
It's funny that you're a host, but you could easily be a promoter at the same time. I got to ask you this because we're on that topic. Bullet Club t-shirt you're wearing right now. If anybody at all from New Japan Pro Wrestling invades AEW, I'm talking like top notch, who would you want to see over there?
Former guest of mine, somebody I believe to be an underrated talent when it comes to Bullet Club, and that's Chase Owens, the crown jewel. I mean, he's not the crown jewel of Contra that Jacob Fatu is, but he is definitely the crown jewel of Bullet Club. I love him. I love the way he carries himself. And yeah, if you tack up his wins and loss records, it wouldn't be anything. But if he came over, Jay White came over, and they kind of kicked the door in a little bit, and then they made room for Tama to come over, oof, shut up and take my money, man. That's a match I would love to see. Chase Owens, Jay White, Tama versus Kenny Omega and the Good Brothers. That's a 6-man tag, would sell out everywhere. They could literally go country to country if COVID wasn't here, and they would sell out. One arena in every country. Find a way to get there. Only open to that country's fans. They would have to literally sell out the Superdome 40,000 times over in the States because they all have football stadiums, so they could make it work. But that's literally just a match that would be a license to print money. And that's a match that I would love to see. But I would love to see Chase Owens come over first because I don't think you want to bring over the top tier guy like Tom. I think you want to bring in like one of those mid-carder guys. And don't get me wrong, Chase has a very bright future. But I think Chase and Jay White coming over, bring a little crown jewel and switchblade. Damn, it's hot. It's hot.
Easy money right there. All right, two-parter right here. Top 3 interviews you've conducted so far, and then the top 5 interviews on your bucket list.
Top 3 interviews I conducted so far. It's another easy one. Maria Canales was just incredible to go through all that history of a forgotten divas era and talk about all the stuff that her, Michelle McCool, and all the ladies at that time were fighting for, and how they were all released except for Nikki and Brie Bella, the 2 worst of the era, and how those 2 got a Hall of Fame ring before 50,000 other names. Whatever. If you like the Bellas, cool. I mean, I liked them too when I was 13. It's all great spank bank material for sure, 100%. But wrestling ability and promo ability, no way, 100%. That one for sure was a great interview. Mark Mero, the king of positivity. I found myself in that one being interviewed because he just made me open up so much in that one. And I even get a little emotional in some parts of that one because talk about my grandfather, who was very, very close to me, my biggest fan. And when he passed away, I felt like I lost a part of me. And I actually started, you can go back and watch the interview. I do start tearing up a little bit talking about it. And Mark was like, thank you for being so open and honest about that. And I haven't spoken to anybody about that situation other than my wife. It felt like that scene from Jerry Maguire, where there's that one reporter that everybody goes on. It's like, I'm not going to cry. And I was like, I cried. And I'm supposed to be the reporter that makes people cry. But my guest made me cry. But just the most uplifting, positive person, somebody who was supposed to be dead 3 times over, fought back and has some of the most inspirational speeches you will ever hear. Go watch his stuff on YouTube. It's fantastic. And another one, which was a personal like bucket list for me, somebody special, was definitely Ray Lynn. I had her on like literally just last week, and it was crazy because I emailed her, and I kind of have a standard email that I do, and yeah, I'll replace the name and, hey, you're a great guy or great girl or anything like that. I'll replace those subtle keywords. But I hit her up and I said, I've heard that you're not a big fan of doing podcasts, and I completely understand that, but I don't have interviews. I have conversations, and I would love to have, 30-minute conversation with you if you're up for it. Here's my YouTube. Here's my link tree. You can check out everything that we do, and I hope to hear back from you. Not even 15 minutes later, I love your professionalism. Let's absolutely do it. And we did. And that one was so much fun. We talked about, I love the conversations where, yeah, it's a wrestling podcast. We got to stay focused on wrestling. But her and I found out that she's kind of closetly my best friend. She likes gin. I like gin. She likes tequila. I like tequila. We like the same brands of gin and tequila. She's a bartender in her spare time. I like to mixologist just to try to get all my friends drunk and wasted when we are hanging out together without COVID. She cuts hair. I like getting my hair cut. So many things in common. It was great. But that one was honestly one of my personal favorites. And top 5 bucket lists. Oof, I mean, how much time do you have? I think I got about 80. But in all seriousness, top 5 bucket list in no particular order. Diamond Dallas Page. Stone Cold Steve Austin, for sure. Would love to sit down with Owen Hart's wife, Martha Hart. I'd love to sit down with her and discuss things with her. Bret the Hitman Hart, because he's one of my all-times. And Kevin Owens, because him and I, he's like my twin. A lot of his good looks at charisma is very similar to mine, except he can do crazy shit in the ring, and I can't. I can't cannonball. If I cannonball, I will be probably out of commission for 7-8 weeks. He cannonballs and he can get back up and do it again. But he's one of the guys I look after because I'm a big boy, but I like to see big boys kicking around other big boys' asses. And Kevin Owens does it better, but he doesn't do it with like veins popping out of his arms. He does it looking like me. And I love that. And that's why he's somebody definitely on my short list for sure. But those are my top 5 for sure. And notice how I didn't mention The Rock or Hulk Hogan.
Greatest big man in the business ever.
Right now or ever?
Ever.
Giant Gonzalez. No, I'm joking. I'm joking. You know what? It's a hard question. It really, really is. There's a lot of layers to it. But I would have to say, just because I'm old school, I'd have to say Andre the Giant. That guy could tell stories. And yeah, in his later years, we all watched the documentaries. We all know what happened. But in his prime, in his peak, the matches we never got to see because they weren't televised, the stuff in Hawaii, stuff he did in all those other small promotions before he got the big WWE gig were phenomenal. And WrestleMania 3, I mean, that's a moment. Hogan slamming him, that's a moment. Drops him with a leg drop, whatever, kayfabe. Nobody could be put down with a leg drop. But Hogan made it happen. But, I mean, WrestleMania 3 for me is obviously Macho Man versus Steamboat. That's my moment. But, I mean, that is the moment when Hogan picks him up and slams him. But Andre could tell a story with just a chop, a slam, a kick to the face. And when you're 5 or 6 years old, all you see is this man who literally looks like a tower. And you don't ever want to be in front of him because you know he could literally step on you like a bug. So for me, all time, Andre the Giant.
All right. The one interview you would love to conduct if the wrestler was still alive?
Owen Hart. Owen Hart is somebody I hold near and dear to my heart. He's kind of, he's the Black Heart, everything like that. But in my opinion, hands down, he's the best wrestler the Hart family ever produced. And he had it all. He could cut a promo when needed to. He was probably one of the funniest people ever. We've heard all the stories of all the things he's done. And he's made so many people laugh and smile. And to this day, WrestleMania 10 is my favorite WrestleMania all time, stands the test of time, but it's not the whole card. It's brother versus brother. That match, if I ran a wrestling school, I've said this a million times too, if I ran a wrestling school, my first lesson would be sit down, shut up, and watch this match. Watch it, study it, and I want you to tell me every move that was done by the end of the class. Rewind it 6,000 times if you have to. We'll stay here for 8 hours. But that is the holy grail of WrestleMania matches for me. And Owen Hart would be somebody that I think him and I would have one of the greatest conversations in wrestling podcast history.
Nice answer. So there's this hashtag out there called mini host, which you're probably familiar with. I know as far as my wife goes, she has no interest in wrestling at all. She will come out, she will see what's on, she will ask me about it, and then that's it. That's like a good 10-second conversation. What's your wife's thoughts on your passion for the business as well as getting your daughter involved doing the 5 questions?
Well, you know what? My wife is a diehard wrestling fan. She watches every year with me. She watches everything with me. Not everything. She's not really a fan. My wife's old school. She likes her WWE and that's it. She'll watch some AEW, like the pay-per-views with me for sure. And Impact, she'll watch the pay-per-views. New Japan, she'll watch the pay-per-views. She actually sat down and watched the NWA pay-per-view with me back for the Attack, which I didn't think she would, but she did. And she actually got mad at me when I picked the winner of the Fatal 4-Way, called it Slice Boogie. Okay, number 1. He's also going to be a future guest coming up. But she is an avid fan. She watches regularly. And With my daughter, it was something like, you're a parent, after a certain age group, your kids are like, Dad, I want a YouTube page. I want to like stream video games and I want people to like see me. And it's like, no, that's like the scariest shit in the world. Absolutely not. You won't have it. She kept bugging and bugging and bugging. And I said to my wife, you know what? I'm running things on the show. I want to do something different. I want to put something that makes us original. I want to do a dad-daughter podcast. And she was like, well, do you think that Cassie will be with you the whole time? I go, not together. Her and I are like oil and vinegar, me and my 12-year-old. Sometimes we love each other. Sometimes we hate each other. That's just life. But I said, she's got such a passion, such a personality. She can literally strike up a conversation with a complete stranger. She has no fear. What if I got her to do interviews with wrestlers, just do like a little 5 questions thing? And my wife was like, if she's game for it, let's do it. So I went upstairs and I said, knocked on her door, said, hey, Cass, I got this idea for YouTube. I'm in. Okay, Dad, I haven't even told you the idea yet. No, it doesn't matter, Dad, I'm in. Whatever it is, I'm in. I'm like, okay, so you're going to interview wrestlers for 5. I love it. It'll be 5 questions, and you're going to ask them 1 wrestling-related question, and then the other 4 questions can be whatever you want. Can we talk about anime? If that's what they like. Can we talk about food? I'm sure they're going to have some great food. So can we talk about like cool stuff they do outside of wrestling? Like I said, 1 wrestling-related question, and the rest could be whatever you want, buddy, whatever you want. And she took the ball, and she literally ran with it. And I've been so blessed that I've made some relationships with some really, really big names, and they've all given her the time. Like TJ, I interviewed him back at Christmas time. I hit him up in March, and I was like, TJ, I don't know if you remember me, but my daughter, she got this little 5 questions thing. She'd love to interview you. She's a big fan of you. She loves Natty. 2 seconds later, yeah, absolutely. I remember you completely. It was a great conversation, one of my favorite interviews. Let's do it. Let's make it happen. And he did it, and it's been great. Like sometimes there's been scheduling conflicts because a lot of the wrestlers don't understand that she's still 12. It's like, so my daughter has a little thing. Oh, can we do it at 2:30? She's in school, so no, it's got to be when I get home from work because I help her set everything up. Oh, 6:30 Eastern. No, that doesn't really work for me. That's kind of tight. Okay, but how's the weekend? Weekends are good. Can we do like 9 a.m.? Again, she's 12. She's never seen 9 a.m. Can we do maybe like 10:30? But they've been gracious and they understand it. And every time I finish with somebody, the first message I get back is, dude, that was so much fun. One of my favorite interviews, one of my most funnest interviews. It's because it's different. But I give her credit. She booked Izzy all on her own. Izzy started following her before she followed me. Hurtful. And Izzy hit her up and was like, I love what you do. Keep doing it. Keep reaching for your dreams. You remind me of me when I was your age. And I'm sitting there going, aren't you only like 16? Like that, her age and your age is not that, it wasn't a big difference. And then she hit her up and they set it up. And to be off to the side where I'm always am and watching that interview take place, like the two of them wouldn't stop talking because they were so excited that it was, when I edited it, I really had to put the work in to edit it to see what the final product was. But Izzy was so excited. Cassie was so excited. Cassie's like, Dad, she's my inspiration. She's who I want to be. I'm like, hey, we're going to get there. We're going to get there because you have a bright future. And I said, in 3 years, if you want to hang it up, that's fine. I'm going to do this till the day I die. Now, I've had some moments where I've said, hey, you know what? Like the numbers aren't where I think they should be. Or I don't know what I'm doing different. I see other channels growing. What am I not doing right? Like sometimes, you'll get a view on YouTube, but then you go watch the analytics and it's only like 4 minutes. So out of a 42-minute interview, somebody only watched 4 minutes. And it kind of breaks your heart. It's like, damn, there was so much meat and potatoes if you kind of get past the first 3-minute introduction, give it a chance. But then you got to be patient. I was stuck at 120 subscribers for a long time. I'm at 269 now, one away from 270. The goal, I would love to get to 300 before I hit my 200th episode would be huge. So anybody listening, subscribe, please. I would love it. Shameless plug. But then I think to myself, and it's my wife who saves me every time. She saved me from when I was a kid and didn't have the greatest of childhoods, but she saved me. And I always credit her for that. And she sit there and she'll say, so where are the numbers right now? Oh, it's like 260. Where were they a year and a half ago? Oh, it was like 8. So you're up like 400%, 500%, give or take, right? Well, yeah. But like this other guy started 6 months ago and he's already got 450 subscribers. So what? It's not about what this guy over here is doing, what this guy's over there is doing. It's about what you're doing. And if you're happy and people see that, eventually it's going to resonate. Eventually people are going to pick up on it and people are going to dig it. And then all of a sudden after she said that, I had this epiphany, and it's not an epiphany that nobody else has had before, but collaboration over competition. Why do we all need to compete with each other when at the end of the day, we're all big wrestling fans? We could support one another because support is free, but we could also be in community groups together, be in podcast groups together. And there's been some that I've started up on my own, some that I've started with other people, some that have invited me to join. And it's just a group of great podcasters from all around the world that get together and bounce off ideas. And some of us share, our upcoming interviews. And, sometimes you could see the guys that are in this because they just want the recognition for themselves. And I'm not going to name any names, but they want the recognition for themselves. So they're the guys that don't watch anybody else's stuff. But when you don't watch their stuff, they question you. There's one podcaster in particular. I'm not even going to bother mentioning his name because it's not worth it. He's from the UK. That's all I'll say. But he sits there and he promotes the crap out of his stuff, but yet very rarely do you see him watching anybody else's. And it's like, well, that's not fair. I mean, I take the time out of my day, and when I'm at work, today I was at work, I was watching the Dirty Heels podcast, two great guys from New York. I was watching their podcast. I had it playing on my phone. I wasn't watching it, but I was listening to it. I'm away working and I had it there. So that counts. And I listened beginning to end. Love those guys. I've had them on my show as well. And it's all about competition over collaboration. Why do we have to hate each other or try to step over each other? At the end of the day, you've got a great guest on this week. I've got a great guest on this week. You got a great guest on in 2 days. Heck, it's all love. And everyone's got different perspectives. So why can't we all share it? But at the end of the day, there are some people who do take it as a competition and they want to be the next Dave Nutzler. I don't know why you would want to be that guy because his head's so far up his own ass, it would make no difference. Where there's guys out there like, oh, I got Eric Bischoff. And I've been trying to get Bischoff for years. They got him. That's great. I've been trying to get Russo for years. They got him. That's great. I don't know how they're getting him, but all I know is eventually one day I will. I DM every day. I try to find emails. You do what you can. And if somebody doesn't get back to me, rejection is a real bitch. And the worst part about it is, and you know this, Chris, in this day and age, when you DM someone and you see the word seen and they completely ignore you, but they saw the message, it's like, just reply back no. And that was my biggest downfall for a long time. I got in my own head about that. And it actually took Holden, who gave me the best piece of advice. So you sent them a message, they saw it, they never got back to you, right? Yeah, I'm just tired of the rejection. Cool. You're an adult. Shrug it off. Because they saw it, but maybe when they were just about to type, something happened and they couldn't type right away. And then they got caught up in other things and then they missed the DM. So it's not like they're doing it to ghost you on purpose. Maybe they are. You don't know. You don't know what's going on the other side. So you getting angry, that's not doing. Take that anger, take that frustration and fuel it. Fuel it into better content, fuel it into stronger interviews, stronger conversations. And that's what it's been. It's been collaboration over competition. And even that podcaster that I'm talking about who loves to big himself up, but very rarely supports everyone else. I wish him the best of luck because he's killing it right now. And again, I'm not going to mention his name because it's not worth it. But collaboration over competition. That's my motto. And that's something that I always do. Support is free. And at the end of the day, if you just watch a video for 5 minutes on YouTube and enjoy it, hey, do yourself a favor, hit the subscribe button because there may not be an interview you're into now, but there could be an interview you're into 6 months from now. And if you don't, you'll miss it.
Yeah, everybody starts somewhere, and you're exactly right. I've gone through that route with regards to my wife, who does not watch wrestling, but she's given me some of the best advice as far as podcasting, websites, all the sort of everything that goes along with it. And it's one of those things. And she's a school teacher, so it's hard to argue with somebody like that. It's kind of funny because the next question kind of refers back to that collaboration over competition. Your affiliation with Lewis Carlin and the Alliance Pro Wrestling Network with regards to MLW Rewind. That kind of surprised me. And it's not to say anything with regards to, your link with him, but doing MLW, that is almost taboo as far as wrestling goes. It's out there. It's one of the most underrated products that's out there on the market. Some of the best content every Wednesday night on YouTube, of course. But why MLW? I just got to ask you that. And why the Alliance Pro Wrestling Network with Lewis?
So we're both part of the Ontario Indie Podcasting Network. Started out by Justin Gillamy Talks. And one day Lewis shot a message out in the group. He's like, guys, I'm thinking about starting an MLW review podcast. Anybody want to jump on? And nobody replied. People looked at the message, nobody replied. And I'm sitting there going, I've watched some MLW. I like MLW. I like the product. I like Court Bauer. I like what he does. So I messaged him. And at the time, I didn't know him too well. So I didn't call him senior citizen or old guy or any of the stuff I do now. But I said, yeah, I would love to. And he DM'd me. He goes, man, I was hoping it was going to be you. Let's do it. So then we were thinking of names. And I was like, he's like, what about MLW Review? I'm like, sounds like a Polydent commercial. Like, it's boring. I'm like, what about the Rewind? Because we're going to be releasing the episodes after the show. So let's rewind it back, review it. And he's like, what about this? And I was like, so MLW Rewind? Does that sound good to you? Because like you keep throwing out names, and I'm just going to keep saying MLW Rewind because I like it. It rolls off the tongue. So he was like, okay, I like it. I like it. Let's do it. Let's do it. So we hit up Aiden Prince, Mike Lopez, did the amazing design, created the logo for us very affordably. And we did it. We did the first one where we just started talking. But now Lewis and I have this relationship where he's the old, bitter man, and I'm the young, easygoing, relaxed, truthful one. Lewis just gets, especially if he doesn't have his afternoon nap or he doesn't eat his porridge, Chris, it's scary times, bro. Scary times in that recording session, let me tell you. No, but Lewis is the brainchild behind it. I give him 101% credit. And he's booked majority of the guests that we've had on the show. He's pushed for it. I do all the editing, the technical work. I make us both look good. I make him look really good because a lot of times it's a struggle. But it's been a great ride, and it was his idea to start this. And we had some early traction very early on. We had some big guests very early on. And I think people are gravitating towards it now because we're honest. When they have shit weeks, we call them out. Court Bauer, this is not your best work. I don't know what happened. Were you just trying to get some, we're trying to get laid and you just rushed out of there so you wrote down whatever, you threw it up, okay, that works, and you left. Like, I don't get it. Some weeks are like I've said in the last show, peaks and valleys, right? But then you get these bright spots like Never Say Never, which just happened last week. I'm still reeling from that main event, man. 2 300-pound guys moving around like cruiserweights. Chris, I was exhausted. I had 2 cigarettes after that match, okay? That felt like a marathon, okay? It was crazy.
So, Jacob Fatu, is he going to do anything else other than MLW? Do you think would you like to see him AEW, WWE?
No, I wouldn't. I would like to see him stay where he's at right now. I would also like to see him maybe branch out into maybe, depending, NWA, because I think he would fit in there very well. But he's also with GSW, which is Global Syndicate Wrestling. He just made his debut over there, and those guys are coming up. Don't sleep on them. I've also got the owner of them, Brandon Ascari, amazing cat. He's coming on the show in May as well. And I don't want to see Jacob Fatu go to AEW or WWE. And do you know why, Chris? It's because AEW and WWE have one major similarity: an oversaturated roster. There is so many people there, and AEW is creating new shows just to try to showcase all this talent that they have. They signed everybody so quickly, and they keep bringing in these older guys. And I get it. They're bringing in the legends because when you look at a guy like Paul Wright, he can mold your big men. He can mold your Lance Archers. He can mold your Brian Cages. He can make them better big men. You look at a guy like Christian Cage, he's still got a fire left in his tank. So he's going to come and he's going to outwork everybody. He'll get his AEW title shot. He'll lose. He'll come back and say, I want one more match for my career. He'll lose, and then he'll become a coach. Look at Dustin Rhodes, right? Dustin Rhodes wrestles every couple of weeks now because he's focused on his training school. And you look at Thunder Rosa and Jazz and everything they're doing because they also have the Dog Pound Dojo. And they're training, a lot of their trainees are getting spots in AEW Dark. Maddie Rinkowski, for example, fantastic up-and-coming talent. She's training at the Dog Pound Dojo with Thunder Rosa. I don't want Jacob Fatu to go where he can't be appreciative. Jacob Fatu is literally the crown jewel of wrestling, not just Contra, wrestling. This is a guy who's 300 plus pounds, and he can move around like a cruiserweight. In an AEW, would you be able to see a big man do a moonsault? Maybe. would you be able to see a big man do a moonsault every week? Probably not. In WWE, will they let a guy like that fly off the top rope? No. He's a big man. He'll have to look like Umaga. He'll have to walk around and just go, Samoa. Like, because WWE is pretty much the house of racism. If you're here, you stay in your lane. That's it. Unless you're, the ultimate man, like Vince McMahon, you don't get a shot. So a guy like Jacob Fatu won't do well in a WWE platform. I want Jacob Fatu to stay on the Indies. I want him to stay in MLW. And then if he gets the opportunity, I'd love to see him go to NWA because I think he could give Nick Aldis a run for his money for the 10 pounds of gold. 100%. That's what I would like to see Jacob Fatu do. Did
you see what was going on Twitter yesterday with regards to Andrade and his Twitter war back and forth with Aldis?
You know what? I saw bits and pieces of it. I didn't get to see the whole thing because Twitter moves so fast. And you try to figure out what's happening, but I was at work and it was a very long day yesterday, so I didn't catch up on everything. But I do know that there was some heat there. And are we thinking that he's signed to NWA? Is that where you're leading?
Well, I'm thinking, what are your thoughts on Aldis versus Andrade? Just as a whole.
Okay, hold on a second here. Let me answer it like this. Inside here is 2 credit cards. Whatever it costs to see that, I will pay twice. And if a t-shirt's thrown in, I'll pay for that too. Yeah, man. Andrade versus Nick Aldis? Hell yeah. Nick Aldis really hasn't had a full-blown test since the return. Mind you, he's only really had the one match. Aaron Stevens, which was amazing. The story that was told that night was great. But Nick Aldis needs a challenge. He needs somebody to dethrone him. And I think Andrade has an amazing shot. And Andrade actually fits in perfectly to the NWA mold because he's old school. He's respectful of the beyond forgotten eras. He's respectful of the lucha libre style. Yes, he doesn't wear a mask, but he's respectful of the culture and he represents it very proudly. And as does Nick Aldis. Nick Aldis represents the NWA flag better than anybody I've ever seen. When I sat down and interviewed him, the questions that he seemed most uninterested in were, well, I have to ask this, Nick, because if I don't, I'll get in trouble by my fans, but will you go to AEW? When I was asking that question, this was him. No. Okay, cool. Like he loved all my other questions, but when I started talking about AEW and the Forbidden Door and all that bullshit, he tuned out. And he's the one that reminded me that without ROH, All Out wouldn't have happened, or All In, or I can't even remember what the hell it was called anymore, but you know what I'm saying. It wouldn't have happened. And people forget that. They sleep that ROH was a big part of that. But I think Andrade, if the big signing, because I know we posted a picture of him going, I've signed. I don't know where he signed, but if he signed with NWA, shut up and take my money, man. And then the great thing about that is that we know there's a working relationship with NWA and AEW, and AEW's got the in with Impact. Again, dance puppets dance. So Andrade can really go anywhere through the NWA envelope, but it'd be great for him to stay in NWA because I think he could have some insane matches. I hope he doesn't go to AEW. I hope he doesn't go. He's not going back to WWE. He's pretty much stated he's done everything where he won't be welcome back for a few years anyways. But I hope he doesn't go to AEW because he'll just get stuck in the mid-card, oversaturated roster. He'll be fighting for the TNT Championship against Darby Allin. And I think Andrade needs to helm a company. And I think the 10 pounds of gold will look really good around Andrade's shoulder. I really, really do.
Yeah, I can't disagree there. A few more questions if that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So obviously big news came out today from Doug Ford. I mean, it was the writing was on the wall as of last night. But last show you attended before the pandemic hit. Have you attended any shows since the pandemic? Thoughts on wrestling here in Ontario shutting down and what you're looking forward to the most when wrestling is back up and running like we used to know it?
That's a lot. That's a lot of questions to ask, but you're good. You're a prober, Chris. I like it. This conversation, it's taking a lot out of me. You know what? The last show I attended was last September. It was the Destiny parking lot show behind Battle Arts. I attended one of the Battle Arts shows on the Saturday, and I attended the Destiny Wrestling show on the Sunday. And that was some of the best wrestling I've ever seen. The Battle Arts roster is so underrated. They have a lot of great up-and-coming talent, and they don't get the respect they deserve because a lot of people feel like they have a streamline into the WWE with Santino. Santino is no longer there as a permanent fixture anymore. It was bought out by the guys from HWE, AC Coca and Dave. They have purchased it. They are running it, and they have some amazing ideas. Some stuff that I have been approached about, but I can't really talk about, so I have to keep that on the down low, unfortunately. But that was the last two shows I attended, and it was great seeing everybody there. Social distance, safe. Got to see Josh Alexander go to war with Speedball Mike Bailey. Got to see RJ City, who's my daughter's absolute favorite. Got to see Alexi Nicole and Jody Threat throw it down with Shiloh and Nova. Got to see a lot of just great Ontario talent, and I missed that. And those were the last two shows. I was gearing up for when the pandemic hit. I took a week off from work, and I was going to go to the Battle Arts show. There was going to be a Destiny show. I was going to hit my first Demand Lucha show. It was going to be sick. And then Doug Ford fucked my life over that one point. And it sucks. It absolutely sucks. But the state of Ontario indie wrestling right now is a state of influx. And I don't mean that in a bad way. There's been a lot of creativity that's come out of this pandemic from a lot of our great Ontario talent, one being Backyard Pro. I loved both seasons. Von Vertigo's The Mad Genius with that collaboration with all those other amazing talents that brought us some amazing characters like Alex Scott, the Forgotten Property brother, Jody Threat as the Demon, the Dancing Weapon, Josh Alexander in fishnet stockings. I never thought I'd be so happy to see something like that, but I absolutely was. Great creativity came out of there. Barry Wrestling did some online stuff. New School Wrestling did some online stuff. There's been a lot of great creativity that has come out of these things, and a lot of them, it's great because their bodies are being allowed to heal. They're still working out. They're still doing their mode. Ring rust will be a very real thing. But when they come back, we're all going to get a healthy crop of Ontario talent. And they're going to literally, to quote Seth Rollins' amazing first theme song, they're going to burn it down. And it's going to be just fucking epic. I don't know if I could swear. I think I've sworn a few times, but I'm okay. You're saying I'm good. So that's what I'm looking for. That's where the Ontario indie scene is right now. It's in an influx, but the talent pool here is spectacular. And I've said it for a long time. I want to keep it my secret. I don't want to share it with the world, but now I think the world needs to see it. And with these platforms that these people, that these brands have been able to create on YouTube, they'll be able to see it. A lot of them will be streaming. A lot of them will be going to the live streaming when they can, and they'll open it to a whole new world. And then all of a sudden, it won't be, oh, you're a wrestler from Canada, eh? Do you live in an ice box area? No, stupid. I'm Canadian. I kick ass. I look good. And I'm a fucking beat your fucking teeth in. And don't forget, even if you knock my teeth in, I can go back and get them fixed because we have coverage here. Holla, free healthcare. So honestly and truly, that's the way I see the Ontario indie scene now. And what do I miss most?
Yeah, well, I mean, what are you looking forward to? What do you miss most about it? Just the interaction with the fans, I guess.
I miss the interaction with the fans. I miss the interaction with the wrestlers. I actually do know a lot of the wrestlers on a personal level, so I do miss seeing them on a more frequent basis. And I miss my daughter seeing them and taking her to shows and seeing her eyes light up the way mine did. And what I'm looking forward to the most is just seeing all them boys and girls back. I'll put it on wax. When all of you are back, I need some updated autographs on these walls. So I will be hitting you up for autographs. My indie shirt collection is running a little low, so I will be supporting as much as I possibly can. And I'm also looking forward to seeing collaborations because I know that there's a lot of great promotions here. And I believe if done correctly, we could see a HWE and Battle Arts Pro versus Destiny Wrestling. We could see a Barry Wrestling versus Crossbody Pro. We could see Alpha One, if Ethan Page even has time to do it anymore, now being signed to AEW. We could see an Alpha One going at a Destiny. You know what I mean? The world's our oyster. New School Wrestling going at Barry. And I know a lot of them share the same rosters, but there's ways to make it work. Championship Wrestling from Ontario is another great one. And what's great, too, is that they've been able to post a lot of classic content. So if there's some matches that you missed, you can go back to all these pages and watch and be like, oh, my God, I forgot about this match. And I just miss live wrestling. And I'm not talking AEW, WWE. No, man, I'm talking sitting in a small, sweaty, unair conditioned venue next to people you don't know and sharing the same passion for the sport or entertainment that you've loved since you were a kid, and then showing it to the next generation. And that's the coolest part now about being a dad. It was able to show her as much as I could before the pandemic stonewalled everything.
Yeah, I've got 2 teenagers that could care less about wrestling. I've also got a toddler, and I'm setting up tonight, and she goes, "Dad, podcasting?" And she brought me her skipping rope to set it up as an Ethernet cable to go from here to the router to make sure I had a good connection. So it was kind of cute. But they
Awesome.
they grew up too quick. But I'm sure once she gets to be about that age, and indie shows are running and this and that, I'll be able to take her. I can't have you on the show without asking about the Isaiah Bronson interview. What was the mastermind thought behind that? And I mean, was it out of character for you, or were you comfortable doing the gig?
You know what? It was out of character for me because I'm more, t-shirt and chain. And when he approached me, he's like, I'd love to do something like this. And he sent me a clip of Michael Cole and Bray Wyatt from WWE. And he's like, I'd like to do like a character piece like this if you're down for it. I'm like, sure. He's like, do you have a suit? I'm like, no. Do I look like a suit guy? No, I don't have a suit. Okay, do you have a tie and a vest? Yes. And a dress shirt? Yeah, I have one black dress shirt. One tie and one vest. And you guys all saw it. That's my dress up wardrobe. It was all there. But he hit me up and he's like, can you create some questions? So I created the questions, and then I sent him the questions, and he's like, okay, I got the answer. So we went in, we set it up, Battle Art Studio, just the 3 of us, me, him, and his cameraman, and the mini host, because she wanted to meet him. She's a huge fan. And we did the interview, and the whole time, the reason why the camera's over my shoulder is because obviously we want the attention on Isaiah, but man, there were a couple times where I was fucking freaked out of my gourd. He is so ridiculously good. And just the way he would say my name, you know what, George? Fuck, stop it. I feel like I'm in the bayou and I'm going to get ass raped by like 3,000 hillbillies. Like, stop it. It's creepy. But he knocked it out of the park, and the whole idea inception was his. And there is a part 3, but right now I know he's either left or he's leaving to go train at Booker T's school. And I did see him a few weeks ago before the lockdown happened. And I said, man, like there was buzz from 1 and buzz from 2. Like, we got to send 3. Yeah, I want it to be perfect. Perfect. Fuck it. At this point, how much more perfect can it be? Like, there's buzz there. Like, I don't know what he was saying. I don't know why he was saying it needs to be at like this amount of views. It's like we did it. We waited 2 months for part 2, and now it's been almost 3 months. And by the time we drop part 3, is anybody going to care? Probably not. But I appreciate you asking me, man. That's awesome. I loved every minute of it. I really did. It was definitely out of character for me as who I am, because this is who I am. So to be there and be, Isaiah, what do you feel? It was hard to do that, man. It really, really was.
All right, 4 questions left for you. Advice for anyone wanting to get into the podcasting or interviews, but isn't sure how or doesn't have the confidence. What would you suggest being your advice?
That's a great question. I've never been asked this question before. I always ask wrestlers the question, what would be the advice of getting into the business for the first time? Podcasting wise, Google. I'm not even going to lie. I Googled how to start a podcast, and the first thing that came up was Spreaker. So I signed up, put my credit card information, and there it was. And then it became distribution platforms. And then after a while, it became, okay, my mic sucks. I need to upgrade my mic. Go to Best Buy or go to whatever, Lana McQuaid, and say, hey, listen, I want a good mic just for audio recording. Oh, you need this. And then it's like, I want to record on the fly. Okay, well, you need this. And that's when I got my H6, which I used to go on my on-location interviews, which I haven't done in forever. But then it was a matter of, I need a new computer because my computer's lagging. So I got myself a brand new Mac. And then my wife was like, babe, you look dark in a lot of the videos, so you should get a ring light. And I'm like, I don't want a ring light. She's like, but it'll make you look a lot better. It'll make you, and my wife being my wife, she obviously finds me sexy. She's like, it'll make you look sexy, babe. And I'm like, a lot of people don't think I'm sexy, so I don't need to look sexy, but fine. If you think I look sexy, then that's the only person I care about, thinking that I'm sexy, because you've seen me in my birthday suit. So obviously you like what you see because we've been together for 18 years. So, so honestly, do your research. Check out what fits you. if it's StreamYard, something like this, if it's Zoom, which is what I use because I like I don't like the split screen so much. I like the back and forth, and Zoom has a great way of doing that. And also, above all else, just have fun. Don't try to force it, because I've been down those roads where I've tried to force it. It's like, why isn't this working? This interview should have been bigger, and I don't understand it. Now I'm at the point where I'm almost at my 200th episode. I sit back and I go, if it all ended tomorrow, I got a basement full of incredible memorabilia. I've been able to have conversations with some legends, some current stars, and some incredible up-and-coming talent. And above all else, I've had people say that my conversations, they find them enjoyable. And that's the biggest part. Yeah, we could all compete and we can all get jealous. Don't get me wrong. Sometimes the green-eyed monster gets the best of me. Maybe that's why I got beef with that guy from the UK who doesn't even know I have beef with him, because he thinks that him and I are cool because we're in a lot of the same groups together. But hey, it's because the green-eyed monster, he's got some big names on his show, and it's names that I've been trying to go after for a couple of years, and I haven't gotten them yet. So if anything, I should be appreciating him because he's pushing me. Again, collaboration over competition. And also, too, network. Get yourself out there with a bunch of other podcasters. Get affiliated with as many sites as possible. And then get yourself a sponsor so you don't have to worry about interviews like I did for a few stretch when I had a sponsor cover a lot of my big names. And it was great. It was a short-lived first experience, and it was a great experience. And yeah, I hope that answers your question. I don't know.
Yeah, very good advice there. What are your personal goals in 2021 as well as professionally?
Well, 2021, I've already hit a lot of my goals early on when it comes to the podcast. The goal was to get, when I took everything over, all the socials, we were stuck at like 67 Twitter followers. We were stuck at 200 Instagram followers, and we had 800 followers on Facebook, which I'm sure none of them were legitimate because we ran what's it called? The ad, and a lot of them were from Mexico. And I don't even know if they were legitimate or not. But I took it, I ran with it, and everything that's gone up has been organic. The YouTube page, like I said, was 4 subscribers. Now it's almost 270. Twitter is over 1,000. And the goal was to get by 1,000. Now I'm at like 1,150, which is insane. Instagram, the goal was 800. I'm at 930. Facebook is close to 2,000 now. I don't even know. There's a lot of people out there who tune in to listen to me speak. And I never thought I was that good at speaking. I can hold a conversation, but I guess I really do have that sexy radio voice. I think it's easy listening. That's what I think it is. It's easy. It's easy. It flows. It flows, baby. It flows. But
John Tasha podcasting right there.
But those goals have been hit. Now it's just a matter of having greater conversations, telling better stories, and going back to having fun. Because if I stop having fun, then what's the point of doing it? And I've also become a brand ambassador for a very cool clothing line, and I'm excited, and that's happening very, very soon. Just because I like you, Chris, I'm going to give you an exclusive. So I don't know if you're going to edit this, but you've got to use the word exclusive, and you got to do it in that big like news voice. I've been hitting up back and forth with Squared Circle Apparel, and I am now going to be a brand ambassador for Squared Circle Apparel. I got some swag come my way. I've also got my own promo code, Straight Talk, all small letters. So when you go to Squared Circle Apparel, buy your stuff, 10% off, Straight Talk. That'll be coming in a few weeks. I want to say by May, right before my 200th episode, I'll be posting fly pictures of me in that swag, which will make me look 10 times better than I do. And it's great clothing, man. It's a wrestling-based clothing line. They have hoodies, hats. They also have this great T-shirt, no off season, which is kind of my mantra because I literally don't take a week off. And even when I tell my wife, no interviews this week, no podcast this week, oh, babe, I've got like 6 interviews. And she just looks at me. She gives me that cute little raised eyebrow, and she does it like half stance, which is all sexy and shit. And whoop, gets me going. But she says to me, go do what you got to do. Funny story actually about that is when I sat down with Santino Marella, he called me on like a Tuesday at 7:00. And he's like, hey, I got your message. I just got back from WrestleMania. I've got some time at 7:30 if you can make it to Battle Arts. I looked over at the clock. It was 7:04. I literally hadn't taken my first bite of dinner. And I got off. I said, yeah, I can make it. I got off the phone. I said, babe, she had my computer, my mic, and my jacket waiting by the front door. She's like, I don't know why you're still here. So that's my down ass. That's my ride or die. My absolute angel. Like I said, she saved my life and has had my back. So just growing wiser and older with her, watching our kids grow, being more comfortable and being able to work through this whole pandemic has made things a lot easier. And just, I hope to have more conversations. And if I've inspired anybody today, hit me up. Chris knows I answer my DMs very frequently. I try to stay on top of it as much as possible. I'm not going to say I have so many DMs I can't get back to you, because I don't. I get back to every single DM. Even if it's with a thumbs up, I always reply. So if I've inspired you in any way, or if you're a fan or you want to know anything about me, don't hesitate to ask, but don't insult me. Don't call me fat or anything like that. I've had that happen a few times. It's not nice. It's not nice, okay? I get I'm a big guy. I don't need you to remind me that I'm a big guy, okay?
Okay, very good. The last two questions. This one is 5 questions in a row. Basically, it's just one answer for each of them. And I'm going to put it this way. Favorite band, favorite song, favorite movie, favorite TV show, favorite podcast other than your own.
Okay. The band has to be a band?
Well, a band or a singer. It doesn't make a diff.
Okay. All right. Then we're good. Okay. This may surprise a lot of people, but all-time favorite singer, Sam Cooke. Yeah, I love my old school Motown, man. I love it. Sam Cooke, all time. A change is going to come, you know. I was born by the river. That's my jam. Okay, that's my jam. Favorite song. Fight music. Eminem and D12.
I know Eminem and D12, but I can't think of the song. I'm not huge into the. I'll tell you this, after the interview's done, I will Google it. And yeah,
it's a big tune. I enjoy it. Every time I hear it, I'm like, yeah, guys are angry. And so, favorite band, favorite song, and
favorite movie.
Favorite movie all time, easy. Reservoir Dogs, Quentin Tarantino. Favorite TV show, I think you said.
Yep.
All time favorite TV show, Big Bang Theory. And I think you said favorite podcast other than my own. Oh, you're gonna get me in trouble, man. You're gonna get me in trouble. There's a lot. Okay, I'm gonna give you a Canadian and American one. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, that's fair.
Okay, so Canadian-wise, favorite podcast, hands down, would have to be Joe Fo in the Ring. Awesome with the Prophet, Jeremy Prophet. I did a special interview with them. They're amazing. Kyle looks like a hermaphrodite, Mr. Potato Head. Jeremy Prophet is the truth. And Frank Jofo has been down with me from day one. He's actually bought one of my shirts. And I love the way he says, "Here we go." It just gets me hyped, man. And they have some amazing interviews and content. So check out those guys, Jofo in the Ring. There are other ones. I'm in a lot of groups. I love you all. You know that Gill and Me Alliance. But I've got to be honest. When it comes to me, that's the Canadian one I go for. And American-wise, you're going to get me in so much trouble. American-wise, I'm going to have to say Circle of Debate. I love the Dirty Heels, like I said. I love everything else that's going on over there. UK-wise, there's Johners, that 90s podcast. There's also Rewind, Recap, Relive. But there's something about Circle of Debate that I love. One is because I had beef with Chris. Chris Kennedy. He's one of the hosts there for a long time because he thought Canadians said, "Golly gee, gosh darn it, Willikers." And I was like, we don't fucking talk like that, you inbred hillbilly fuck. So I had to set him straight very quickly. But him and I are past our beef. But there's the host, Ivan, the devious one, Ivan C. He is one of the most down-to-earth human beings out there, much like all the other amazing podcasters that I've met in the groups and the networks that I've been able to do. It's Our House, Turnbuckle Tavern, Good Friends, Better Enemies. So counted out, so many amazing podcasts. But Ivan has really, he's become a friend. And he's somebody that always is positive. He watches each and every episode that I release or that the mini hosts release, and he comments on everything. And his comments are always insightful. He makes me want to be a better host because he makes me better because he lays out the information in the best way possible. And but I listed a whole ton of great podcasts there. World Elite Podcast, Drive Through Podcast, Gilmy Talks, I mentioned. There's so many. Alliance Pro, my partner in crime, the oldest man on the planet, Lewis Carlin, MLW Rewind. He's got great content and interviews. There's just, the list goes on and on and on. There's so many. Scumbags of Wrestling, CWN Interview. So many. It's hard to really narrow it down, but check them out. All of them. We're all on groups. Clark Street Wrestling, Know the Ropes Wrestling. I'm trying to get as much out there as I can. But all these guys are just fantastic, fantastic podcasters, and they make me want to be better. And of course, I mentioned them already a bunch of times, the Dirty Heels, Kenneth Stone, Good Brother Bones. out of Harlem. They are fire, man. And Kenneth is great. Bullseye! But Kenneth is awesome. Kenneth and I are really good friends. We talk quite frequently on Instagram and Facebook, and he's one of the best. They're all fantastic podcasts. So I hope I've enlightened somebody to a new podcast today.
So I discovered two things from your Facebook, by the way, just recently, probably the past 2 weeks. Number one, Holden Albright appears to be the Easter Bunny, evil Easter Bunny at that. That came out the past couple of days. But I also discovered that George McKay is a Red Sox fan. So last question is, who is the greatest Red Sox of all time, in your opinion?
In my opinion, it's the man that turned me on to the Red Sox when he got traded from the Minnesota Twins. That's David Ortiz, Big Papi, number 34. That's my dude, my guy, and he's the guy that I watched break the streak. He's the guy that I wish had went out on a World Series, but he's got 3 rings. That ain't bad. But yeah, for me, Big Papi, hands down, best pitcher of all time, Curt Schilling. I was a huge Curt Schilling fan when he was with the Phillies, and then when he was with the Arizona Diamondbacks, and then when he got traded to the Red Sox, I was like, oh my God, my life is complete. Complete.
Bloody sock. I gotta tell you, I gotta go. I agree with you on David Ortiz, but I gotta go Pedro Martinez as far as pitchers go. But
as long as you didn't say Nomar Garciaparra, we'd be all right.
No, he went to Chicago. That's the end of that.
Exactly.
It's been great talking with you, George. Obviously, you can see the social media links down below there. But George, how do people get in touch with you? How do they follow Straight Talk Wrestling, MLW Rewind, and then you personally on social media?
So me on social media, I do have an Instagram, George McKay 89. Twitter is George McKay 1126. Facebook, George McKay. Search me up. I usually friend everybody. Unless you're one of those like cam girl bots. I'm not stupid. I'm an adult. I'm not going to friend you. Stop sending me pictures of you in incredibly tight clothing and then send me messages. Sometimes I'll friend them just to get the message. And when they say, hey, I'll start sending them random words like fart, fish, donkey. And then they block me. So it's over. But yeah, those are my personals. My podcast pages are excuse me, Instagram Wrestling, Straight Talk Wrestling, Instagram Straight Talk Wrestling, Facebook Straight Talk Wrestling, Twitter is @_Straight Talk, and YouTube is Straight Talk Wrestling. And like I said, if I inspired you or you're a fan, I appreciate your love and support. And if you're a new fan, you want to check me out, that'd be awesome. I can use a few more subscribers. This very close to 300 would be huge. And I also have merch on ProWrestlingTees.com. Just go to Pro Wrestling Tees, type in Straight Talk Wrestling. And now the brand ambassadorship with Squared Circle, which I'm very, very excited about. And yeah, that's kind of it and everything in a nutshell.
George, it's been an honor. I didn't expect to go an hour, but it was interesting and very informative interview. Are you watching WrestleMania this weekend?
Of course.
What's the biggest match you're looking forward to?
Oh, that's easy, man. I'm a Fiend guy. I want to see Fiend and Randy Orton. I want to see how this storyline plays out and ends. That's my guilty pleasure match. I am looking forward to Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair because I know the match is going to be incredible. The build and mic skills have definitely not been. I'm the boss. I'm EST. Shut up. Just fight. So I'm looking forward to the technical side of stuff. And I'm looking forward to Drew McIntyre and Bobby Lashley because I am half Scottish. But I think that Bobby Lashley is going to take that. I think he's going to retain, my honest opinion. I really do. I think he's due for a decent run.
I got to disagree with you on that one, but I am looking forward to Sasha Banks as well as Bianca Belair. But guys, yeah, WrestleMania this weekend. Obviously, NXT TakeOver taking place tonight, tomorrow. Hopefully, we'll have this interview launched tomorrow on YouTube, but you'll see all the social media feeds all over the place. But George, it's been a pleasure. It's been an honor. Thank you very much for being the very first interview for CWN. And, best of luck with everything as far as Straight Talk Wrestling goes. And you'll have to do a huge push for that 200th episode that it comes out. What was the date again?
The 200th episode, you know what? I'm still trying to count and figure it out right now. I got 192 dropping this week. So hold on. Let's go to the calendar real quick. We could do this quickly. Hang on. So on the 8th, 92, 15th, 93, 22nd, 94, 29th, 95, the 6th of May, 97, 96, 13th, 97, 20th, okay, is 98, 27th is 99, the 3rd of June is my 200th episode. And that one will not feature a guest. That episode, the concept is going to be going back, talking about some of my favorite interviews. And I've already hit up some of my former guests, and a lot of them have come through with a congratulations video, which I'm very excited to put out and share with everybody. And I've got a lot of the big names that I've had on the show were gracious enough to give me 50 seconds, send me a shout out. It's been pretty cool. The shout outs that I've gotten, I've got a whole file saved up of all the shout outs, which has been pretty overwhelming because it means that I've stuck in some people's memories and I've touched a lot of lives. And even to that podcaster in the UK that I said I had beef with, which he doesn't know I have beef with, I appreciate you, dude. You make me hustle a little bit more. So I thank you. I'm still not going to give you a name because it would be rude, but I thank you.
Collaboration over competition. That's all you got to remember in the back of your head there. Straight Talk Wrestling vidcasts every Thursday, 6:15 p.m. Eastern time, if I'm correct on that one. And then the MLW Rewind, I think, is every Sunday at noon. Is that right?
It is, yeah, because noon is not the time where Lewis sleeps. So I can do it between 12 and 1, and he's okay. So noon we do, because he's up at like 5 drinking his Metamucil, and then he's back and in bed by 6. So we got to do it midway in the day. Have to.
I feel like I need to get you on the show eventually again to interview him. Just to sit there like a fly on the wall, just to watch the interview happen.
I would just be in the background, just being like, he'd be like, well, like, I got into podcasting, and when you got into podcasting, there was no radios. You're a liar, Lewis. Liar.
There we go. I think we'll end it on that. But George, it's been an honor. Like I said, Straight Talk Wrestling, MLW Rewind, and guys, looking for this interview to launch on YouTube. But George, it's been an honor. It's been a pleasure. Like I said, best of luck, and thank you everybody for watching the very first CWN interview with George McKay of Straight Talk Wrestling. George, thank you very much, and we'll see you again sometime soon.
Thank you, Chris. I appreciate it. It was an honor, man. You're one hell of a conversationalist yourself.
Go Red Sox.